Hi there, it's Kevin with the Rogue Market here with a market update. These sort of videos I am going to do periodically when there is a topic at hand where I think you should be aware of. So this particular topic, I'm going to talk about the Japanese alternate art planeswalkers. So if you've been following the trends of these, they have been trending upward. In fact, these have outperformed all of my expectations, and I think the price point is way too high. And if you have them, you should absolutely be getting out of them. It's important in MTG Finance to know when to hold them and when to fold them. And this is absolutely a time where I think that you should, despite whatever rate that you got in on these, should be getting out of these. So let me back these up by the evidence that I have at hand. So first of all, we'll look at the price point of these cards. We have cards like Liliana Dreadhorde General at around the $200 mark. We have Nicol Bolas at 40. We have Gideon at 25. Teferi also at 25. Karn at 36. Ugin at 30. Ral at 20, and Nissa Who Shakes the World at 30. You also have a bunch of the uncommons in the $10 range, and a few of the uncommons are even higher than that range. But these are all the rares and the mythics to give you an estimate. This pushes up the average value of a Japanese booster box, since these are half of these will be the alternate art in the Japanese, up around the $200 plus EV range for this. This adds the opportunity for what we call arbitrage, and you got to think that people will be banking on this. This means that the Japanese markets are going to be flooding the English markets with these cards because the rarity is much easier, or the scarcity is much less in Japan, that this is going to have an overflow of these to the United States. Whenever there is an opportunity for these sort of arbitrage, you have to expect that the market will adjust accordingly. So I'm expecting all of these to crash in value. The second news that we have is they are restocking the Japanese versions of these in the United States. So distributors will have the Japanese version of these cards available again. Right now they're sold out, but distributors have said that Wizards does intend to restock these in the English market. They will be on allotment for stores to get a certain amount. So far, the problem with the Wizards Play Network and distributors right now is distributors are not honoring allotments. I foresaw this when Wizards ended their direct sales. What used to happen is a certain store that was part of the WPN would get a certain amount that is guaranteed per week, and all stores were on that exact same level depending on their WPN level. So if you were on the low level, maybe you'd get 6 boxes a week that you were guaranteed. Then if you're on a higher level, maybe 12, all the way up to 6 cases a week that some of the larger stores were guaranteed. When Wizards ended that direct sales program, they expected distributors, you had to sign up for distributor that you wanted your allotment through, and those distributors were supposed to allot that. Well, what has ended up happening right now is distributors are not honoring. I think that the big problem with that is they had a huge influx of product with the sets that didn't sell that well, like Rivals of Ixalan's, like Challenger decks 2019, like the Core Set 2019, all the way up to Commander 2018. All of those, when they tried the allotment program, what ended up happening is people weren't buying it, and then it led to a kind of a bottleneck in the ability to get the products out to people who could sell them. And I think the distributors just threw it all out. They quit honoring the allotment program, and I think that Wizards needs to reinforce that if we're going to get a nice little supply chain where it's guaranteed that every area has enough of these in stock. What's happened is people have been hoarding these on for high sales in the future, and I don't think that's sustainable. What that ends up happening is it gives a incorrect feedback back to Wizards. They need to reprint this product, and usually when they do this, they go all out. Think of the last one they did this with. It was Challenger's deck 2018. Challenger 2018 also had a lack of supply in the early initial wave, and how did Wizards deal with that? They overcompensated by creating an even greater number of Challenger decks that flooded the market and then made those decks absolutely worthless as far as being able to sell them for anything above the kind of MSRP, or not MSRP, just the distributor cost of the product. So I'm expecting the exact same things to happen with the Japanese alternate art planeswalkers. I highly warn against investing in these products because of all the signs leading to these are going to be flooded. Now, to make matters even worse, the big nail in the coffin is that during the core set 2019, we are going to have these in 1 out of every 4 packs of promo packs. So what Wizards Play Network has done is they've got rid of most of the promos. There's no more standard showdown packs. They've cut back on like F&M promos, and instead you get these Core Set 2020 promo packs that are going to be very similar to the standard showdown packs. And in these packs, they're going to contain 1 in 4 of these packs is going to have a Japanese alternate art War of the Spark Planeswalker. So there are a lot of these. I think that we get like 100 of them. It's definitely like 10 per week that we get. I think it's 9.6 per week. Yeah, so they're supposed to last 10 weeks. And we get 96 of them, I think, is our numbers that we get. So even my store being the lowest level, divide that by 4, we're going to about 25 of these. So basically a play set, not quite a play set, but a good inventory is going to come from these Planeswalker packs that is going to be flooded into my area, and every area around the country, every local game store is going to be on similar levels of where these are going to enter into the market. So if you are investing in these, if you do have them, I would definitely get out before that point for the Core Set 2020 standard season. So again, though, this is something that the biggest indicator that this will have its kind of undoing effect is usually this happens. Look at there have been some instances like Commander 2016 that we thought was going to be printed into Oblivion, and Wizards didn't. I thought that Ultimate Masters was going to get a restock, and it didn't. So there have been some exceptions to the rules, but with all of the information that I have been able to gather, this is on high priority to get more of these Japanese booster boxes in the English market, and they're just going to continue to print this in the Japanese market. They're not going to slow down with that printing, and it's going to lead to arbitrage when it's just so much value in those Japanese boxes to make it very feasible just to open them up in Japan, ship the contents over the United States markets, and sell them. So anyway, there you have it. Let's go on to the next topic at hand that I want to talk about, which is a potential banning in the Pauper format. So the 2 cards in question are Gush, and I was actually quite impressed with Gush. So this is a typical market trend here with how spikes inevitably go back down to where they should be. So if you actually follow the line here, you follow this trajectory, it's almost perfect. If you would take this spike from Rivals of Ixalan and then the crash down to Ultimate Masters, if you take this away and draw a line from Iconic Masters to Ultimate Masters, that's where Gush should be. So it reached back where its natural price should have been $3.50 from the natural gain from Iconic Masters to Ultimate Masters from $2.50 to $4, and now it's gone up to about $4.50 and had that nice trajectory. The reason why Gush has been able to do this is Gush is probably is the most powerful and one of the most highly sought after cards in the Pauper format. It also does see some overlap in other formats. Occasionally Legacy Vintage will use the card, and there's also Commander will occasionally use the card as well. So with all that demand, it has increased Gush to continue on its normal trajectory before we had that Pauper boom, which means that Pauper is still as healthy as it was from the Kaladesh format on to the Iconic. So it's still an investable format. You just have to compensate for that Rivals of Ixalan that was a little bit wishful thinking. I was part of that kind of boom because I really thought that Pauper was going to take off because of the tournaments at the Grand Prix and with the influx of players into MTGO. I think Arena was the biggest problem for the growth of the format because it shifted so many people over from MTGO over to Arena, where Pauper is not a format and is more of this out of sight, out of mind problem with the format gaining that huge boom, and then of course it busted. So Gush, though, is on the radar for the chopping block for the banned and restricted list that will be coming out mid-season. The other card is Palace Sentinels. Palace Sentinels is another card that has shot up in value and actually maintained its price from that Rivals of Ixalan increase. This is another card that sees decent play in Commander and sees a lot of play in in Pauper, and also has a very, very low supply being in Conspiracy Take the Crown. So both of these cards, I would suggest if you can get out of them at a decent price point. Both of these are kind of suffering from that right there, that the buy list is dismal. On the Palace Sentinels, Same thing over here with Gush. The buy list is pretty dismal. There aren't people offering reasonable rates for this on like CardsFair, and so this is one of those cards that I don't like. These are the cards you have to wait and find good opportunities to sell them, and I just don't think the time is there before these cards will get banned. So why do I think this is going to be banned? Well, there is a lot of talk about it on the Pauper subreddit about Gush. It's just really talking about Gush here. On the Pauper subreddit, you can go check it out in r/Pauper. Highly encourage you to subscribe to this channel on Reddit because of just the sheer amount of data that this produces for the metagame and just, you know, even cards shooting up in value. There's a lot of information here that you can use to your advantage for MTG Finance, because Pauper is a format you should be watching. It is probably the least influential at the moment. There's the least potential profit in this format, but it's still one that you should have to your arsenal nonetheless. Then we have this article by Alex Ullman. Alex Ullman is probably the most prolific Pauper player. Hey, look at that, 3Ps. And plays this a ton and writes a lot of articles for Channel Fireball and other, I believe writes for other places as well, and has an entire article stating why he thinks that the Gush and the Monarch deck should be, or the Palace Sentinel should be banned. So highly suggest again you come over here and check out this these graphs. Shows that the situation is getting worse, not better. That these are the amount of decks that played both Monarch and Gush back in September, and now that we are on data all the way through April, we have it increasing all the way from 25% for these cards, a little bit over 25%, to almost to 75%. So meaning that you either have to be playing a Monarch deck or you have to be playing a Gush deck. And there are other Pauper players that are more the celebrity one, more the players that have some overlap from kind of the pro scene or the celebrity scene, that have also voiced their opinion on both the Monarch and the Monarch decks and the Gush decks needing something banned out of them. The other card that people have been talking about being banned is Ghostly Flicker. Ghostly Flicker has some options for cards that can replace it, because there is the one out of Shadows, Vernish Shadow, Eldritch Moon, that basically does the same thing, except it can't target. It can only target creatures, I believe. So it takes away the ability to flicker lands or flicker the artifacts, which is very relevant for many of the Tron lists. So keep in mind that all three of those archetypes could get some bannings, which could cause the price of cards containing them to go down, and of course the cards that are banned in them to go down. Last but not least, there has been, so Alex Ullman directly talks to Ali Medwin, who is the whatever person over MTGO at the moment, and they are aware. I raised the issue to play design as being important to MTGO a little while ago. I'm sure they'll do what's best with the next banned and reserve list update. So Pauper still is on the crosshairs. They're still looking at it, and this is a huge telltale sign that something is to be shaken up in Pauper. So with all the information we have, I think that it is the right move to get out of Gush and Palace Sentinels, but I would do this in an orderly fashion. You don't want to crash the market. You don't want to cause panic, because panic becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. It becomes a domino effect. I'm going to be looking to get out of my Gushes. I don't think I have that many to begin with that aren't in Pauper. Like, I have what are we up to? 37? I think I have 37 decks in my Pauper battle box, and many of them do use Gush. The problem is Gush is going to kill a lot of those archetypes. Many of them, like Whirlpool Mill, it definitely uses Gush. The deck does not work without Gush. Gush is the huge accelerant in that. It's also going to kill Inside Out combo if Gush gets banned. So there's a lot of people just saying they should find something besides Gush, that maybe they should just ban Foil, because it was Foil that caused Gush to be the problem to begin with. There's a lot of things up for debate, but still, with the information at hand, both Gush and Palace Sentinel seem to be too risky to invest in it, or to keep at this point. So in conclusion, those are the two main metrics that I'd be looking at right now. The alternate Japanese Planeswalker decks are going to be flooded into the market. Right now we are kind of reeling from I don't know how Wizard of the Coast did not anticipate this. It's just another facepalm that, like, Wizards, are you kidding me? You overprint certain sets, and when there is no reason to do so, like Challenger Decks 2019 were overprinted based upon what they thought they would sell, and War of the Spark just didn't have enough initial product, and they suffered from this from both Guilds of Ravnica and Dominaria. You'd think they'd have this fixed by now. However, that initial wave was just too low to meet the demand, and I think they're going to overcompensate and flood with both Japanese War of the Spark and normal War of the Spark, which is going to cause the format to go down in value. So anyway, there you have it. There's my market update. Be safe out there. Don't hold on to these toxic assets. Otherwise, I mean, right now is the best, even if you have to take losses on this. A lot of times it's better to take a loss than a huge loss. It's all about mitigating those losses in the overall scope of the MTG finance game. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. This is Kevin with The Rogue Market. Thanks for watching.